Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the show. Sorry, you took a breath. I had to say something. I don't want to have dead air on this.
Alex, you want to kick us off?
I don't know. What's been going on in politics? That's kind of your guys' area. I don't know. Why'd you ask me to start?
And not so easy now, is it?
Yeah.
I can't handle the pressure. I don't know.
It's Monday, January 27th, and there will be no dead air on this episode because we've got Alex back with us for another Chapo episode. We'll be talking about Trump's first week in office, maybe discussing what the Democrats do from here, a bit of D.C. gossip. But we've got to talk at the top of the show. We've got to kick things off, and I'm so glad we have Alex back on the show to discuss this because I think this is probably the most consequential thing that's happened over the last couple weeks. And I am referring, of course, to the fact that friend of the show, Catturd, his turds very nearly killed him.
He has a bowel obstruction, and it is my cock. I just want to say that for the record. It is my cock. I was going to tell him that, but he already has me blocked. So,
Catturd's turds have nearly killed him. Catturd was treated for a bowel obstruction. He was in the hospital. But basically, where I want to start with this is obviously Catturd and turds being in the same news article is pretty good. But it was on the occasion of his bowel obstruction that people resurfaced a whole litany of posts from Mr. Catturd declaring his basically his intention never to eat vegetables and that, quote, fiber is for losers.
Yeah, that's like taking it one step further. I would say everyone for like the past 10 years has kind of been doing the anti-vegan thing. You know, there's the TikTok guys who like trick themselves into thinking that AOC made a speech where she said that burgers were racist. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to eat 10. But then there's also the left-wing people who are like, they do the same thing where they convince themselves that there's like a roving gang of vegans that go around yelling at indigenous people not to eat meat. And they're also doing the same thing. But I've never heard of any of those people come out against fiber. Just fiber itself. That is a new one. One has to assume that Catturd's actual shit now, it's like the metallic archaea from Metal Gear Solid 5.
He has bazoars.
Yeah, it can.
He has bazoars, but it's all the dog hair he inhales.
I hope that they constructed like a Magneto prison for him to shit in, because his shit probably it would eat through regular porcelain. It would destroy the building.
I'm thinking about this in light of Chris's very nice birthday present from his lovely wife. A Catturd shits are like tungsten cubes at this point. Yep, there's the cube. No, but I would imagine doing a BM for Catturd, how long a process is that? Like, how often does it occur? And when it does occur, how long does it take him to conduct business?
Well, I mean, for these reasons and more, I'll actually be taking some inspiration from the Hitman games, and I'll be knocking out one of his nurses and dressing. Yeah, I'll be dressing up as one of his nurses so I can finally fulfill my dream of giving Catturd a sponge bath.
Just reaching into his asshole, yanking it out.
Oh, I would love that. Have you ever had a dog who like they like eat some string and you have to pull the string out of their ass?
Yeah, you're not supposed to pull on it actually because it could make them nut. Like it could rub against their prostate and make them nut. So you're supposed to bring them to the vet, or you let them shit it out naturally, or just don't have shoelaces. Only have Velcro shoes. If you only have Velcro shoes, that's a great excuse. I don't want to kill a cat with a shoelace.
Well, we had a girl dog, so we could stimulate her prostate.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good reason to have a girl dog too.
Yeah,
in case she swallows string, people might they'll just think it's a tampon, and they won't want to say anything.
Unfortunately, his turds had to be moved out of his colon with using like sort of chains that are like attached to the front of a pickup truck, and then unfortunately, when the pickup truck was put in reverse, it did kill several of Catturd's dogs. as they remove the bowel obstruction out of his asshole.
Well, that was regularly scheduled. That was a regularly scheduled killing of his
Yeah, it's
dogs.
the cull.
Yeah.
They're just going to be on the highway if you don't kill them. So it's cool that he just posted all that publicly, like about his specific bowel ailments and going to the hospital for it. Like, you could just say I'm sick. You could just say I'm going to the hospital. Like, you don't have to be that open with people. You don't have to say bowels. It's okay.
And then apparently also he had like sort of mind of Jason like blood pressure numbers.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he was like they hooked him up to the blood pressure and the machine just said tilt.
Oh man, those guys love getting red.
I don't know. It's such a weird thing of like when you encounter like adult men who like just simply don't eat vegetables. Like
yeah, it doesn't end well.
Yeah, Al Michaels, the sportscaster guy, like he famously has claimed to never have eaten a vegetable. And I don't know. I mean, he seems to be doing okay. I mean, what aren't they telling us about the need for fiber or roughage or vitamins in your diet?
Yeah, there is some sort of pseudoscientific reason why you shouldn't eat fiber. I'm trying to remember what it is exactly. Like, it increases the production of certain bacteria in the gut, but I think it's still good to eat fiber. Don't you want
bacteria in the gut?
You do want bacteria in the gut, even though it's gross. And they are kind of stealing your food. They're stealing food off your table. You don't want them in there doing that. But if they're going to be in there.
Well, I mean, if they're going to be in there, they should be working for me to like, keep me free from illness and whatnot. Keeping everything moving at a sort of a reasonable pace through the poop factory.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to Catturd. I don't know, but I hope he doesn't. Why change your diet? You've come this far in life. Just
why not?
Go to the hospital once a month to take a shit.
Yeah. You should have live-in nurses who help him shit.
or just to live-in Alex to unobstruct his bowels.
Oh yeah,
with your dick. Yeah.
Get up in there and just move shit around. Get up in there like a plumber with a wrench, getting under the sink. See what's going on.
There's your problem.
He probably also has hairballs.
Yeah. So moving on from Catturd shit, moving on from the turd discourse. I saw this and was immediately intrigued by it. This was courtesy of Megyn Kelly, who sort of has. I saw a clip of her on her show expounding on the Obama-Michelle divorce rumors. Now, this is something people have been speculating on for a while in light of Michelle not attending both the funeral of Jimmy Carter and Donald Trump's inauguration. But Megyn Kelly put a fine point on it by referring to rumors from well-placed insiders that Obama is currently dating Jennifer Aniston.
Is that a real thing she said?
Yes, it is.
Is it a fake account? It's got to be a fake account.
I watched the clip of Megyn Kelly talking about this.
No, I mean, it's a fake Jennifer Aniston account.
Yeah, that would be funny if Obama fell victim to that because he's about the right age.
Yeah, he remembers friends.
Yeah, to send like a bunch of gift cards to a fake Jennifer Aniston account.
Like that French woman who thought she was in a relationship with Brad Pitt.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer Aniston is a really popular.
It's very common,
account.
Yeah. There's so many of them.
Yeah, I got a fake Jennifer Aniston DM recently, and I was very offended. It was like, how old do you think I am? But tons of 60-year-olds have sent the single most popular currency in the 60-year-old world, iTunes gift cards, to several fake Jennifer Anistons.
Yeah, it's a very fascinating thing that her in particular, like, because she wasn't like the top sex symbol from back then. Like you would say it was like Angelina Jolie maybe, but
both of them
in Friends, you sort of
Pitt.
You think of that as a girl show. That's a girl show. That's not really a guy show. Like maybe they would have been aware of it or they would have watched it with their wife or something. But when you hear people bring up Friends, usually it's a girl doing it. So I don't know why so many of those guys, it's specifically Jennifer Aniston that can trick them into sending them gift cards.
I think it's a generational thing. Like they are the exact right age for. I mean, Jennifer Aniston was a sex symbol, but regardless of that,
she didn't have a bra on.
Yeah,
they remember that. It's like that Farrah Fawcett picture. Regardless
of that, I think this is another Obungle. I think he was like, "Oh, my wife's out of town. Call the limo." We're going to Peoria to smoke crack and blow Larry, and then he pre-gamed a little and he blacked out. And when he woke up, he had just had heterosexual sex with Jennifer Aniston.
Oh shit!
And he was like, "Oh, this is One of my worst bungles yet.
Imagine how mad you would be if you were a 60-year-old guy who sent a bunch of money to fake Jennifer Aniston and you found out it was fake after telling your kids, no, she's real. She's real. Shut the fuck up. Stay out. Mind your own business. Like, you find out like a year later that you spent all that money. She's fake. And then you read on the news that the real Jennifer Aniston is fucking Obama.
Oh my God.
You would punch so many holes in your drywall that you would just have studs left.
Oh, but I feel like there's going to be thousands of guys in Catturd's row in the hospital who are just, bricking their colon.
It's going to cause a lot of bowel obstructions.
Yeah.
I mean, on the clip I saw of Megyn Kelly talking, she said, if the rumors are true, Jennifer Aniston aside, that this would be a political earthquake in America because we've never had a former president get divorced. We've never had a presidential divorce. And I had to think about that for a moment. Like, what do you think of the implications of not just the Obamas getting divorced, but Obama canoodling with a former sitcom star? Would this cause a political earthquake in America, or would people mostly not give a shit?
Like, if they were had any activity in the Democratic Party besides just getting called in every time that there might be any type of genuine populist movement in anything, maybe, but really this is just to a couple who produces bad documentaries and shows getting a divorce, which happens all the time.
They're just celebrities.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
People might go through the motions and say it's like having a public divorce like this is eating away at the sanctity of marriage and it's setting a bad example, but everyone knows that's bullshit. And all the people that would be mad about it, they're also the same people that believe that Michelle Obama's trans and Obama's gay and he sucks dick in a limo, and they probably also believe they're both pedophiles. So it doesn't. Who cares if they
the
get
sanctity of their marriage is not exactly.
Plus, JFK was sleeping around, LBJ, probably Richard Nixon, probably all of them.
Is there anyone who both believes all that, but is it's still they should still stay together?
They should stay together.
The holograms that are portraying Michelle and Barack now after they've been executed for 700 counts of cannibalism.
Yeah, they made these clones to be married to each other. They spent a lot of money to make those clones. So if they get divorced, kind of ruins their reputation.
Well, I was thinking about the clones in light of the Jimmy Carter funeral because that
should have cloned him, make him look better.
There was the Jimmy Carter funeral was a clone-rich environment, but it was funny. Even after Donald Trump winning, there's still this idea that they're being rounded up, Joe Biden has just been arrested, but the Joe Biden clone or the Hillary Clinton clone has just been arrested, and I guess I was just wondering number one, think how annoying it is to continually achieve justice by putting the great monsters of our time, executing them in a military tribunal, only to have their clone reappear on the public scene minutes after doing that. But here's my question: are the clones sort of minted or cloned with an innate knowledge of the memories and actions of the person, of Biden or Hillary Clinton Mark One? So if that were the case, then you could execute those clones because if they had knowledge of it, they would be morally responsible for the actions of the original. Or are they sort of born as a blank slate and have to be filled in on all the evil that their original had already done?
Yeah, they have child porn in their brain as part of their memories. Like the clone of Bill Clinton, he can remember a lot of illegal content.
Yeah, it's like that iPod that came preloaded with the U2 album.
Yeah.
Just with tons of CP in it.
Yeah, sometimes you see those people, like the QAnon people, they're just so sick of that, the clone stuff. They're like, wait a minute, they executed the clone. Why would they execute the clone in secret? Why would they make a clone to execute and then not tell us about, what? And now Trump's back in office, so they can kind of forget about that a little. They don't have to reach that far. They can just say, oh, they're actually doing it. They're rounding people up. Look at that.
Yeah, they're exhausted Dragon Ball Z fans. What do you mean Boo is back?
Yeah. We just killed him. It took 4 years of them just staring at each other. And now he's back.
I mean, the thought that occurred to me is that the white hats in the deep state, instead of perpetually arresting and executing clone after clone after clone, they should focus their efforts on shutting down the cloning facilities. So therefore, when they finally do arrest and execute the wrongdoers, then you won't just have to see them on the news the next day like nothing happened. So just shut down the cloning facilities, or they're minting like dozens of Obamas and Bill Clintons, and then just get it done once and for all.
Yeah, I mean, like, well, that's one of the first things they did in Equilibrium is shut down the Libria production facility.
There you go. That's the blueprint right there. All right. Well, in light of the fact that like the clones remain a nagging issue in the U.S. Sort of politics, but I'd like to talk about now. It's now been officially 1 week of Trump in the White House, and I guess we should probably talk about some of the signature Trump policies and sort of executive orders that we've seen so far. So starting with the list of on immigration.
They're rounding up Native Americans to send them back here. They're actually doing it.
He deployed 1,500 active duty troops to the southern border. In a memo signed Thursday night by the acting head of Homeland Security Department, offers ICE officials a roadmap on how to use expansive powers that were long reserved only for encounters at the southern border to quickly remove migrants. It also appears to give officials the ability to expel migrants in two major Biden-era programs that have allowed more than 1 million people to enter the country temporarily. There is the Laken-Riley Act, which is directs authorities to deport immigrants who are accused, though not yet convicted, of specific crimes. Go down the list here, and then teasing the end of birthright citizenship and another travel ban. And then in terms of the administrative state, there's a hiring freeze across the federal government that would remain in place pending the completion of a broader plan for reducing the federal workforce. The end, of course, of DEI and the DEI programs, and then end policing supervision. The Justice Department has ordered an immediate halt to all new civil rights cases or investigations and signaled it might back out of Biden-era agreements with police departments that engaged in discrimination or violence. There's the delay of the TikTok bans. On foreign policy, he's designated Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations, has left the World Health Organization and left the Paris Climate Agreements, and also the tariff war as well that we're seeing heat up. Now,
in the Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America.
Did you get that? In Mount McKinley? People just want to honor William McKinley. He's very important. It's the only time you ever hear about him. Guy got shot and they gave him a mountain, and he's just the mountain guy. And I guess he did support tariffs.
I want to get to the tariffs in a second, but obviously, not many surprises here. We're seeing ICE raids in Chicago and elsewhere. But I guess my question here is, does this feel different than the first Trump administration? The ICE raids and roundups that were going on in his first couple months in office the first time around. But is there reason to believe that this feels different this time around, or that this is markedly more menacing or evil? Is he more unrestrained?
I was talking with someone about this the other week, that the only real difference, the only thing that is sort of uncanny and strange about this is that he has the regular honeymoon period that all newly inaugurated presidents have. And that's a very, very weird territory for him, because we're so used to him being underwater as far as approval ratings. I do think that all the stuff we're seeing is mostly a repeat or a continuation, or, what is to be expected. But I also think that even sans the resistance, that things are more or less going to revert to mean with him, in that sooner or later, Biden had a higher approvals during his honeymoon period. People forget. And things are sort of set up for Trump in such a way that any single thing could be the start of an unraveling, whether it is trying and failing to broker a deal with Russia, which Russia does not seem that interested in the terms that he's laid out. A major failure on the world stage like that could be the start of an unraveling. It could be, this flash market crash we're seeing now, or the inflation that comes with tariffs and, obliterating America's supply of low wage labor.
In bird flu.
Yeah, and
rounding up
earthquake.
agricultural laborers and sending them all around,
Yeah.
making them travel all over the country, putting them all together in a dirty camp.
The thing is, like, the usual Trump spiral we're used to, it hasn't happened yet because all of his, like, most boneheaded decisions, policy wise and personnel wise, and the sort of atmosphere of chaos where everyone is getting fired and turning on each other, and no one trusts each other, and there's all this backbiting and recriminations. That happens when he's, defensive, and he hasn't had a reason to feel that yet. But when there is, like, I don't think it's going to be a singular Afghanistan type thing, but probably just like a bunch of fuck ups in different corners adding up. That is when it's going to start, and that will be weird territory because he will sort of revert to being very underwater, but there won't be a resistance industrial complex.
Yeah, and he also doesn't have as many disloyal people in his administration that he can blame this time, because he's going to have the same sort of problems where he runs up against stuff getting held up in court, having to deal with like the Department of Justice and all these internal checks and stuff, having to root out traitors and stuff. And like in the Oval Office, he doesn't really have anybody that's like lib coded or that hasn't just shown nothing but loyalty to him for 4 years straight. He's only got those people, so it's going to be kind of harder. Like he doesn't have Omarosa there that he can just pin shit on. Like, I don't know. It seems like he's going to run into problems where he's probably going to throw JD Vance under the bus. Probably Elon Musk. Probably we're already seeing Vivek being thrown under the bus. But all those people, they're like incredibly loyal to him. So it's going to be kind of difficult, and it might split the MAGA world a little bit when he does that.
Well, I mean, he already sided with Elon and Doge over the H-1 visa program, and like we've talked about that before. It was like the first interesting sort of, I don't know, zone of fracture or tension in the MAGA coalition. But just to sort of go off what Felix said, I guess like what feels different this time is both a media honeymoon that's treating him like like the way they do other presidents, but also just like like the absence of the quote resistance, but also a Democratic Party that I think has taken this election to be basically like a Reagan Mondale level mandate for Donald Trump. I mean, it's just like I think they're reacting to this loss in a way that like the idea that Trump just absolutely killed them, and not that they just lost it. You know what I mean? Like it's the difference between like getting beat and like just giving it up. And I think like the difference here is that like we're seeing a lot of like Democrats try to like sort of weasel their way into supporting him, particularly the things on the like the immigration enforcement and deportations and things like that. But like I guess what feels different now is it seems like the media and the Democratic Party are treating this election like it was a huge blowout, and that Trump has some sort of huge mandate and is overwhelmingly popular.
Yeah, like people have moved to the right. The voter base has moved to the right a little bit on certain issues. That has actually happened, but it's easy to overestimate that, especially when you're looking at Twitter when it's controlled by Elon Musk, or you're looking at like media that's filtered through the tech algorithm, and those guys are all like courtiers for him now. They're all just at Mar-a-Lago trying to win favor from him. So it's easy to overestimate and think like, well, I guess everybody's just racist now. I guess everybody's just like this, but it's still just not that many people. It's just only not even a majority, really. It's just become normalized sort of, and the people fighting back against it are tired.
Yeah, I know, Alex. It's that sense of fatigue. People just, I think, like there's such a pervasive sense of just demoralization, not just in terms that like Trump is president again, but like I think if there's anything productive, I think it's that like many voters are just furious at the Democratic Party for just losing this election.
Yeah, they ran a senile guy.
Yeah,
and we could all tell he was senile, and they replaced him 2 months before the election, and that's why they lost. That's really the main reason why they lost.
That was what I was going to bring up. If you guys saw the that Shannon Watts lady talking about
who is she again?
She's the like what's her group? Everytown, I think. It's like a gun control thing.
Okay.
Yeah, she did a pretty by the books annoying NGO liberal. I think she did something like vaguely blame Bernie for Sandy Hook at one point in 2016.
Right.
But because he said you couldn't sue gun manufacturers for shootings. which does seem kind of crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, but she made a post today about how demoralized she felt by the direction of the Democratic Party, basically along the lines of everything that we've said, that they are treating this like very narrow win like it is a 1984 style realignment, and just how directionless and shitty the party seems, and how they feel like there's no future in it, which I thought was notable. I don't really think that augurs, the creation of an American Labor Party or anything like that. I think like sooner or later, some ambitious Democrat will figure out the exact right balance of like liberalism and I guess not using NGO language, and like capture the hearts of these people. But for now, it is interesting that the Democratic Party is sort of, they're replaying the thing that they did in 2016, where they're laying the blame at the feet of the remaining left of the party and like progressive NGOs. And it's not quite like 2016 where they tried that and it fell flat. It's more like they're just talking to each other. No one else cares. The people doing this are the only people that seem to believe that there is any future in the Democratic Party to care about. Everyone else is checked out.
Yeah, like when I see like, Matt Yglesias, who's probably like the most prominent voice of what you're talking about. I just noticed that there's like less of an instinct to yell at him or make fun of him, because it all just seems so not pointless. It just seems so redundant. I mean, like every time these guys open their mouths, they indict themselves further. There's just no real reason to argue these points like there was in 2016. Even though we live in this like perpetual 2016, it really does seem like that's running out of gas, because like, you can't do 2016, then 2020, then 2024 again, saying the same things over and over again. I mean, it's just like there's no point in arguing about this anymore.
Yeah, they're just coping.
Yeah,
they're just posting cope, because they can't actually criticize the content of the Democratic Party or the actual platform. So there just has to be some sort of convenient explanation, like the groups are they did it. There's just some small niche community that's infecting the Democratic Party, which is perfect and it's fine and it's great. And someone just stabbed us in the back in a way that means we don't actually have to change anything about the platform.
I guess like another difference between 2016 and 2024 is that, at least on foreign policy, like I think a lot of this cope and a lot of the kind of triumphalism and sort of intimidation being done by MAGA right now, it can't be divorced from the fact that the United States, in terms of foreign policy, has never been weaker. Like, I mean, like this is coming on the heels of a number of big, like, I don't know, roadblocks to U.S. hegemony. Like, for instance, the Russia-Ukraine war, which I think by everyone by this point knows is not going to end on terms favorable for the Ukrainian side. There is, of course, Gaza as well. In southern Lebanon, we've seen thousands and thousands of people returning to northern Gaza and also South Lebanon today, which is, like totally contrary to the as we've talked about with Muhammad, the goals of the Israeli state. And then also the AI. I mean, we just had Ed Zitron on today. The news everyone is talking about today is the Chinese AI DeepSeek that has just liquidated about $1 trillion in value from the American AI sector, because it's open source, cheap, and does everything American AI or LLGMs or whatever you call them do.
LLMs.
Large language models do, but 1 billion times better.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't really complain about it when you're trying to undermine people's jobs and automate everything. And you say, well, it can do it cheaper than you. Sorry. Like when someone else does it to you. Well,
I was very excited to use DeepSeek, but unfortunately I did find out today that China possibly used chips that likely violated export laws.
Oh,
so
no.
We need to get a hold on these chips. They're using chips that they shouldn't be. They have chips that they shouldn't have. What's going on here?
Did Uyghurs make them? What is the issue?
I honestly, I don't get it. And I realized that I was trying to think about this, that like, I know I've been very critical of AI, but I have to admit to something here. I have never used AI for anything. I don't think I've ever interacted with an AI or chatbot or an image creation program. I don't really even know what, like, I don't have a sense of like, I just like when people say, oh, like DeepSeek is this new cool thing. I don't even know, like in my head, I can't connect in my mind, like, oh, I'm going to use DeepSeek. Like for what? I just don't get it. Have you ever used AI for anything? Or, like,
Google stuff
what
for
is
you.
on offer here?
It basically just Google stuff for you.
Yeah.
Some people like that. They like having like a conversational type thing. And I guess if you're programming or something, there are like macros or templates it can make for you. But I don't really have any use for it personally because I can just read stuff. I'll pull up Wikipedia. I don't want to have to ask. Like, I always hated that when something pops up and it asks you to like have a conversation with a bot or even a person. Like, I just show me the thing. I don't want to like ask somebody like, how do I find this? Can you explain this to me? And then you have to wait. Like, remember that website Cha-Cha? That search engine Cha-Cha, where there would be someone getting paid like 10 cents an hour who would Google stuff for you, basically. Okay. You would ask it a question and then it would spit it back to you. It's basically that. And I wouldn't want to use that either. Because one, it's weird that there's someone on the other end, some stranger, and I feel like I'm bothering them. And then two, I could just Google it. Yeah. And Google sucks now, but that's mostly because of AI.
A couple things from the first Trump week in office that I have to give him credit for. I have to, tip of the hat where necessary. And the two major things that he's done that I have to give him I have to give him his flowers for is, number one, pardoning all the January 6th defendants, even the ones who did violence. Number two, revoking the security clearance of like hundreds of deep state ghouls, including John Bolton and James Clapper.
And Mike Morrell. Mike Morrell was on there. Mike Morrell is my one of my most hated CIA guys who never really gets enough hate. But I was very happy to see him there.
It says here, President Trump revoked U.S. Secret Service protection for John R. Bolton within hours of taking office, stripping his former national security advisor of the security detail he had been granted because of threats on his life from Iran, Mr. Bolton said Tuesday. And this is like one of those things where I read it and I'm like, why did John Bolton have a Secret Service detail before this?
What the fuck? That's what pissed me off the most. This guy gets to spend his entire professional life antagonizing the rest of the world, and we have to pay for guys to like watch him, to pay for like Secret Service guys to watch him shit until he dies at age 98.
And what's the point of the whole apparatus, the NSA and the FBI and the giant deep state of national security shit?
If he's just going to be clipped walking around Virginia,
like Iran is going to just send a missile directly at him. Like, what's the point? What did he work for his whole life? If he's not safe, he has to have a bodyguard.
he created this.
Point.
He got to create the world we live in. If he's not proud of that, then tough shit.
Yeah, I guess it isn't a very safe country. That sucks. I guess we're at the rest of the world could just kill any of us at any time.
Like, if Iran Soleimani'd John Bolton, what the fuck good would a Secret Service detail do? They fucking like,
that would be they have to kill SpongeBob.
A ballistic missile hits his convoy of SUVs. I don't think the guys sitting in the back seat with him are really going to fucking make much.
That would accomplish so little.
Yeah,
because Trump would call him a loser. He'd say he died like a dog, and
that would be awesome.
I don't think a single person, maybe like someone in the National Review, would write an obituary,
But like, okay, so Bolton says here, I am disappointed but not surprised that President Trump has made this decision. Notwithstanding my criticism of President Biden's national security policies, he nonetheless made the decision to again extend Secret Service protection to me in 2021. What a fucking loser. Paying to protect this asshole. And then he goes, the Justice Department filed charges against an Iranian Revolutionary Guard official in 2022 for attempting to hire a hitman to target me. What did he go on hireahitman.com?
Yeah, attempting to?
Yeah. What the
that guy was in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I was a Navy SEAL. Come on.
If you're in the Revolutionary Guard, why do you need to hire a hitman to clip someone? Because don't you have your own ops that you can task this with?
Also, he can afford his own bodyguard.
Of course he can.
Just pay a bodyguard.
Yeah.
If it's that important, and he won't pay a bodyguard because he knows he's not actually in danger. He just likes making those guys listen to him go to the bathroom. It makes him feel important. But if he had to pay for it, I don't think he would pay for it.
And then also the Any thoughts on the new freedom of the January 6th defendants? I mean, obviously,
They're better off not being in prison because, as we talked about, they're having too much fun in prison. They gave them tablets. They're all there with each other, just talking about January 6th and Trump and all this shit.
Recording
Maybe now
video
that they're
podcasts,
free,
and now they go back to the real prison. They go back to the real prison of their family lives, like to their wives and kids who were the ones that grassed them in the first place.
They're going to spend less time thinking about that shit, probably.
Yeah.
Because now they have responsibilities, and they're not just with their boys.
Yeah, they're not getting three hots and a cot from Uncle Stupid.
Yeah.
They got to get out there. And,
good for those guys.
Yeah. But, think how good they must feel. It worked. It worked.
It worked.
They had to spend a couple years in jail, but now it worked.
Now they're out. Now they're back to square one. They're free like they were before, and nothing really. I don't know. Did January 6th help Trump win? Did that?
Well, it certainly didn't hurt.
The consequences of that help? I wonder. It's hard to really measure that. I don't know if it hurt it slightly or helped it slightly.
Well, I think it helped him in that, it made it the Democrats tried to make January 6th their entire reelection campaign, and discovered that most people actually like the idea of making our elected politicians fear for their lives.
Yeah, they don't care that much.
It hurt in the sense that he riled all these guys up, and then when it happened, everyone in America, every institution condemned him, and he instantly was like, "I'm sorry, they're bad. Just let me have Facebook." And that sort of that was the lowest he ever was, I think, in the eyes of his supporters, when he was like, "I'm so sorry. Please let me just have LinkedIn." But I think, on balance, it probably hurt the Democrats more. Because up until October of last year, Kamala Harris they would ask her about the Dobbs decision, and she would go, "Did you know that John Kelly said that January 6th was bad?" What? What are you doing?
Does John Kelly still have a security detail? Was he? Did he make the list? Did he make the list?
I don't know. I feel like John Kelly is he's working at Geek Squad now. There's no place for him in Trump's new America.
He's probably an honorary professor at some college.
Yeah.
All those guys. The guys that betrayed Trump.
One of the war colleges.
I forgot about all those guys. Who's the really big guy? James Comey.
Yeah.
I forgot about James Comey. I wonder what he's up to.
I don't know. Our nation turns its lonely eyes to you. And I guess going on with the first week of the Trump administration, there have been, of course, his cabinet picks. And when I saw over the weekend that Pete Hegseth was confirmed, J.D. Vance was the tie-breaking vote. When I saw Pete Hegseth get confirmed, I got to say, my first thought was, can we get Matt Gaetz back in here?
Yeah,
is there anyone who's been more egregiously wronged by this than Matt Gaetz? I mean, there was only the implication that he was raping all those teenagers. Pete Hegseth, there were fucking named accusers, and
at least Matt Gaetz isn't a veteran.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Chris, you and I were talking about this in light of the Trump appointments, but my attitude towards all of them is just confirm them. Fuck it. Just let it ride. At this point, I just sort of feel like we all have no choice now. We are all accelerationists now. And the wackier they are, the better. My point about Hegseth, because there were reports coming out while he was, forget all the rapes he allegedly did, and including my favorite thing, that his mother in an email to him called him a woman abusing bastard who deserves to die practically. I mean, when your own mom is putting you on blast and that becomes part of your confirmation hearing in the Senate, I thought there might be a chance that he wouldn't get confirmed. But it's also his drinking that continues to be an issue, because there's been, reports that he routinely passes out and pisses himself, that he started out his day of the confirmation hearings having 3 gin and tonics. And then, of course, remember his pledge that he would stop drinking if he becomes the Secretary of Defense. So I'd like some follow up on that. But my point is, if they are going to start a war with Iran, a drunk like Pete Hegseth is exactly the guy I want running the Pentagon. I want someone as incompetent and literally shaking and seeing elephants, or just drunk, or just shit-faced.
It's hard not to see the confirmation of somebody like Pete Hegseth, who again is a weekend host at Fox News. He's not even acceptable for primetime, and not just react by saying, well, I guess that position's not very important, is it?
Yeah. He's a guy from TV. It's easy to forget that. He's a guy that was on Fox, and Trump saw him on TV every day. And I think ideally that would have been his entire cabinet the first time, was just Fox hosts, because that's who he was calling up. It would save him phone calls. But those guys know that, like, actually being in there and having to make decisions and having to be accountable for shit, that's a lot less fun than just being on TV and saying, oh, they should do this. They should do this. Why aren't they doing this? But then you're the guy who actually has to talk to people and make the things happen. And you realize, oh, I can't do that. I can't do any of this for him. And then he blames you. And that's less fun.
I do like the idea that it's just him scrolling through his contacts in his phone being like, oh, fuck, I got to staff this cabinet. Who do I got?
Jesse Waters for Health and Human Services.
Yeah, he doesn't have Jared and Ivanka this time. They don't want to participate.
So yeah, we got Hegseth in the Department of Defense. Can't wait to see how that goes. Like I said, he's exactly the kind of guy I'd want running a war against Iran. So best of luck to him. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about from this week is the trade wars, the possibility of trade wars, like imposing tariffs on Canada and Mexico. And then this recent spat with Gustavo Petro, the president of Colombia. Did you see Petro's very lengthy Twitter post in reply to Donald Trump?
I've been very impressed by Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico, but I really liked Petro's post. This was like all the long posts that we see nowadays. It's a business guy who's like explaining why you should sleep at your job and only get married when you're 51 if you want to get ahead. I haven't seen a long post that has some blood in it in a long time, but Gustavo Petro produced probably the first good long post in 3 years, at least.
I like when he opened it by saying he doesn't like visiting the United States because it's boring, and then he says, "I confess that I like Walt Whitman, Paul Simon, and Noam Chomsky and Miller." I don't know what Miller is. I think Arthur Miller, maybe. I don't know what Miller
Probably.
is. Steve Miller,
Glenn Miller. Hopefully not Stephen Miller.
Jason Miller.
Yeah,
shout out to a friend of the show, Jason Miller, who had
nothing negative to say about that guy.
Yeah,
nothing but respect for him.
Well, I have to shout out Jason Miller because he did make my favorite post of the Trump inauguration, which was he was like, "I dare Anna Wintour of Vogue to put Usha Vance on the cover of her magazine," and I was like, I love it.
She doesn't. Isn't she like 95?
Usha Vance?
No.
Anna Wintour. Yeah.
She's got to be so. Is she even running the magazine?
Oh yeah, she's still around. But
I guess she's only 75.
Vogue should do just like a fashion issue for all the beautiful, fashionable women of the Trump administration.
Yeah, there should be a MAGA fashion magazine.
Yeah,
and a MAGA Sports Illustrated.
Yep, MAGA Maxim, bring that back.
MAGA Maxim.
There is like a based women's magazine that they started. They started in 2020, and it's like, it's like those we need to bring back beauty type women. It's for those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in the wild. I haven't seen anyone accidentally buy it in an airport yet. But
what's it called?
It's not Elle because that's an existing non-based women's magazine, a woke one.
They tried to call it Bitch Magazine, but it was taken.
It's called something.
It's called Mrs. Magazine.
Yeah, Mrs. Magazine.
It's called something like Eros or
Vitalis,
like that.
Yeah,
something fancy.
Yeah.
Eros Unbound. Artemis's Revenge.
I believe it is Evie Magazine, EVIE, a politically conservative American women's magazine. Founded
it's
in
named after the Pokemon.
Yeah.
Here's another thing I want to talk about. Talking about Trump, but I did notice this one thing from a CNN article. Headline here: Democrats grapple with their own message in Trump 2.0. And, this is speaking about, like how the leaders of the party are sort of attempting to reshape their brand or refine their messaging in light of, of a crushing defeat. But there is, it says here, top Democrats like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries has been urging members to stick to substantive policy differences rather than personality clashes and social media clapbacks with a man who won the popular vote. But there remains internal tension in the party about where to draw the line on Trump. Democrats in Trump One turf are traveling to Mar-a-Lago and voting for GOP bills on immigration and trans athletes, while others are protesting his inauguration and grilling his cabinet picks in made-for-TV moments. But there is this one section here that really caught my eye. It says here, In a private Senate Democratic luncheon last week, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey led colleagues through the shifting dynamics of a media echo chamber that conservatives are thriving in. Democrats scoured examples of how conspiracy theories like the one about Haitian immigrants eating pets in Springfield, Ohio, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs.
What happened to that, by the way? Did they stop?
Yes, they did.
Because you haven't heard about that. They must have stopped.
Well, it got cold out, so they brought the pets inside. So
you don't have to kill the cats and dogs. You just find them frozen. It's like getting a pound of frozen beef.
It spread rapidly in the conservative media sphere, and how Democrats needed to try to harness their own tools to get their messages out better. One of the bright spots Democrats highlighted, according to a source familiar, was a viral video from the pandemic of Virginia Senator Mark Warner making a tuna melt in his kitchen that led to the lawmaker being cheered and jeered by people who questioned his culinary leanings. The communications ecosystem
that was like 4 years ago.
I don't even remember this.
No, what the fuck are you even talking about?
When this article was shared by CNN, they referred to the tuna melt as the unforgettable Mark Warner tuna melt moment.
I forgot it.
I bring this up because I feel like I'm someone who, to an unhealthy degree, follows Democratic politics and online politics, and I had no fucking clue what the viral tuna melt moment was referring to. Felix, you remember this?
No, I've never heard of this. And even if I had an Instagram live from 5 fucking years ago, that's it. You're in a meeting with like fucking Dracula and David Geffen, and you're like, how do we unfuck up this shitty party? Do you remember 5 years ago when Mark Warner made a tuna melt?
Like that's only reaching people who are already hyper invested in Democratic politics. What is that accomplishing? Like, you look cool to politicos who are like that's only really impressing people in DC who follow politics for a living. And even then, it's only a few of them who are like, I love the Democrats. Any Democrat doing anything, they're awesome. They're my dad.
I want you to imagine someone who not only follows Mark Warner on Instagram, but sees that he has gone live and goes, ooh, let me click on that.
Well, it might have been a hate watcher.
Yeah.
No, he's so bad at tuna melts. I hate him.
Yeah. He's like, Mark Warner was like Darkside Phil during the pandemic.
Yeah, people would just be fucking with him all day.
Yeah, he got swatted every day. He got caught jacking off on live.
Yeah, he jacked off into a tuna melt.
That's the secret ingredient.
That is why it was controversial.
Yeah, I know. So I just Googled Mark Warner tuna melt, and the first result is a YouTube video titled Senator Mark Warner's Tuna Melt Atrocity.
Come on.
And Axios, remembering Senator Mark Warner's tuna melt 4 years later. It says 4 years ago today, Virginia Senator Mark Warner scoured the internet so much with his heinous tuna melt video that Vice President Kamala Harris got him on Instagram Live to help right his wrongs. It was the second month of the COVID pandemic. Harris wasn't VP yet, and Warner's post was secretly a PSA to wash your hands for 20 seconds to avoid spreading germs. But there were a lot of wrongs. He didn't toast the bread, used ungodly globs of mayonnaise, and not even Duke's mayo, didn't drain the tuna, and then microwaved the sandwich. Oh my God, he made a tuna melt in the microwave. Okay, so this is even worse than so in their meeting, they're like, how can we counter the viral racist demagoguery that alleges that immigrants are, cannibalizing pets? I know a video of Virginia Senator Mark Warner making a sandwich badly.
Yeah, it's such it really is like Twitter journalist type shit. To get in cooking arguments or getting in fake angry arguments with about which city has the best pizza or something.
God,
or pineapple. I would fucking fight anyone who likes pineapple on pizza. It's appealing to those type of people.
If you don't put salt in your pasta water, you're a horrible person.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
People who are
fucking dog shit.
People who are extremely proud that they know how to do basic cooking and they want to let you know all the time.
Yeah, it's a very halfway. It's a very halfway house style of posting.
Yeah. Fuck it. This tuna melt is God. This is an atrocity. Jesus, I can just imagine the person. They probably they write for Axios or Politico or some newspaper in DC, and That's what they pretend to get mad about because they can't get in an actual argument because that feels bad. So they just like have fake arguments with their friends about food and food condiments and topics and shit. And it's just excruciating to read that. It sucks.
All right. Best of luck, curating the next viral sandwich moment for the Democrats as they tweak their messaging.
They should just make the worst cooking possible. I mean, honestly, if they're going to do that, they should make like Mind of Jason meals. Like
an eggshell,
put like
eggshell bowl.
Different parts of a pig where you can't really tell what it is. You know, it's not the part you want to eat, but it is part
boiled
of a pig.
Bananas.
You just you put that in a big pot. You put some eggshells in there. You boil it for like 72 hours. Maybe you put some like baby powder on top. And then you just make that on Instagram and it will go viral. It will get some people getting mad about it. If you make it nasty enough, it will repulse normal people and not just people who pretend to get mad about sandwiches for clout. Or just cook poop. Like, what if a senator cooked poop on the stove? That would get a lot of views. If he just put a piece of poop in a pan and just cooked it.
Hi, everybody. I'm Senator Chuck Schumer, and I'm making a Schumer family delight this evening.
I call this Chuck roast.
It's poop.
And it's a big poop. It's a big poop I put on the stove, and I turn it on, and I leave the house.
You're gonna want to braise this for about 3 hours. And then,
I cook this to troll my wife.
This is Guy's meal when the wife's out of town. Big bowl of poop. Big bowl of poop.
Bachelor chow.
Yeah.
But stuff like that would get a lot of views.
The eat shit challenge. Let's juice this. Let's get it viral.
Yeah, why not? Who cares? But they're afraid of being embarrassed. They're embarrassed every day.
Well, speaking of eating shit, I'd like to close out the show with, I guess maybe like one last look back at the Biden presidency. I had this last week, and we did get a chance to get to it, but there was some good stuff here that I wanted to share. And this was courtesy of Politico. 11 historians predict how Joe Biden will be remembered. It says here, historians may reevaluate his legacy in the years to come after achievements and failures alike are put in more context, not to mention what occurs in Trump's second term. Will Biden ultimately be viewed as a uniquely poor one-term president, or will history be kinder to him with time? I mean, to that, I'd just like to offer the question, what a one-term president has American history been kind to?
JFK.
William McKinley.
Okay, yeah, that's one. Well, just
William
JFK is a good one. JFK is a good one.
All the guys who died, basically.
William Henry Harrison. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So 11 historians. The first one up is Sean Wilentz, who is a professor at Princeton. Headline is "A Tragic Element to Biden's Presidency," and he says, "Few worthy one-term presidents get the praise that they deserve, unlike lousy one-term presidents like James Buchanan, who do get the obloquy that they deserve. For the moment and for some years to come, pundits and other pseudo-historians, as well as some genuine historians, will jump all over Joe Biden for his gaffes, his authentic policy debacles, chiefly the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and more, above all, maybe his failure to keep his pledge as a transitional president. With any luck, Biden, like Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush before him, will eventually receive his due for his large legislative achievements, won with razor-thin congressional majorities, his guiding hand in bringing the economy out of its post-COVID torpor into a full recovery, and even more, perhaps, his rallying of NATO to support Ukraine against Vladimir Putin's vicious invasion."
But that didn't work.
Yeah.
That didn't work.
Yeah,
we're gonna look back on that, and it's not gonna matter. It's just a waste of money.
And like I said, he says, with any luck, Biden, like Jimmy Carter and George H.W. Bush before him, will eventually receive his due. Have Jimmy Carter or George H.W. Bush received their due? No.
I mean, Jimmy Carter, not really.
Jimmy
really
Carter received his due for his post-presidential life. Built
people just say the old bullshit about it. He's a better man than he is as a president. He was just too good of a guy to have the job. He's too nice, and he did photo ops where he built houses, and he lived for way too long and drained us of resources. He took nurses that could have been caring for someone who had more life left to live. He made everyone disgusted by looking like dry SpongeBob.
He ruined billions of lunches across America.
Yeah, he ruined our appetite. He just looked disgusting, and he couldn't close his mouth. He had bugs laying eggs in his mouth because he couldn't close it anymore. I think, honestly, if you live that long, you should sort of forfeit your right to, like, have a funeral and be remembered and stuff. It's like, you wanted to stay here an extra 30 years, so, like, I don't know.
Yeah, and Michelle
Like, all
Obama
that shit
didn't
you
even
did
show
was
up.
like 70 years ago. So, same thing with, like, Bob Hope. Like, I'm sorry, I don't even remember what movies you were in. Because you lived way too long. Like, they should have had your funeral in 1975, because then people remembered the movies you were in. But I don't remember them. So I don't even, just, who cares? I don't care.
Sean Mullins continues here. He says, should the nation's luck finally run out, though, he will be remembered very differently as the last president who observed the rule of law and who stood proudly as the indispensable leader of what was once the free world. Either way, there will be a tragic element to Biden's presidency. To be Irish, Daniel Patrick Moynihan once observed, is to know that in the end, the world will break your heart. Irish Joe Biden, who understood that fate all too well, at least tried as a president to sustain the core liberal values to which he devoted his life's work. I had to bring this up. I had to bring this up because as soon as I read this, I could hear Felix, even when I was just reading this in my head, I could hear Felix going, fuck off, fuck off with this weepy Irish bullshit.
It just doesn't...
Is it 1830?
There isn't like an essential Irish character that's different than like the Welsh character or something. It's just we're all the same people.
Yeah.
It's the Anglosphere. It's just, it's basically the same shit.
It says, to be Irish is to know that the world will break your heart. Yeah, like he's a potato. Yeah, like he's a potato farmer in the 1840s and not the president of the United States who was too senile to be president.
And also, he's not an idealistic guy.
No,
he's one of the most cynical people who has ever occupied that office.
Like, he didn't even really pretend to want to change stuff. He's just a retail politician who shakes people's hands and makes deals, and it doesn't even matter what happens. He just likes that process of shaking hands and making deals, and nothing even ever happens. Like, he didn't get rich off of it. He's just a scumbag because he likes it.
I will say that Sean Willents wrote a very good book called The Rise of American Democracy that was a big source for Hell of Presidents. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt that he has just read too many primary sources from the 1830s and 40s talking about like the fundamental fecundity of the Hibernian or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the only excuse.
Yeah.
I just like, again, like the idea that like Joe Biden was just this true believer. I mean, he was, but like in evil.
Yeah. And also, like, like all this fucking blarney about the Irish, like, borders on a kind of bigotry, in my opinion, because essentially he's like, I know it looks terrible for Joe Biden and he will probably be remembered as a failure, but that's just because he's Irish and the Irish fuck up everything. And anytime you put an Irishman in charge of anything, tragedy and heartbreak are soon to follow.
You really have to try so hard to find some sort of ethnic angle on him.
Yeah.
Like, Joe Biden's just a white American.
Yeah, he's like half German.
He was born in like the 1940. Like, there isn't some sort of ethnic character you can give to his personality. It's his fault. It's not because he's Irish or German or whatever. It's just because he's a dickhead.
The next one is by Tevi Troy, who is a former White House aide and a presidential historian and a senior fellow at the Ronald Reagan Institute. I love this headline here. Tevi Troy's little remembrance is titled, From the Role of Dragon Slayer to the Person From the Role of Dragon Slayer to the person who had enabled the dragon to return. Buddy, that's the one thing you don't want to do when you're appointed Dragon Slayer.
Yeah, that's a bad epithet for a dragon slayer to have on the
allowed the dragon to return.
Yeah, slayed the dragon, but not really.
It says here, Joe Biden entered the presidency after nearly half a century of wanting to be president. Although his party had only narrow margins in Congress, he pursued overly ambitious plans to reshape the American political system as FDR and LBJ had. Unfortunately for him, he lacked the majorities they had, and in doing so appeared to overstep his mandate. Then, in one of history's tragic ironies, by the time Biden got the role that he had sought for so long, he had become manifestly too old for the role. As the Biden, again, that's not tragic. That's just
This
stupid.
is the guy at the Ronald Reagan Institute?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. Good point, Alex. Good point.
How could they allow a president to be senile? How could they do that? It's unprecedented for this to happen.
As the Biden presidency progressed, his advanced age made him vulnerable to a challenge from the very person he had vanquished to win the presidency, Donald Trump. Biden was forced out of the presidential race by his party before actually facing Trump, but the questions about his age had put the Democratic Party in a position where Biden had let the very person he took credit for defeating return to the presidency. In this way, Biden went from the role of dragon slayer to the person who had enabled the dragon to return.
Whoops.
He didn't really slay the dragon.
Yeah, he didn't slay
It's
him.
giving him a little too much credit.
Yeah.
He mostly just benefited from COVID. And people just being sick of Trump after 4 years, and the economy was fucked up.
Next one up is by Victor Davis Hanson, longtime friend of the show. Headline here: the most radically.
I wonder if he's going to bring up ancient Greece.
The most radically left-wing and polarizing presidential tenure in a century. That's a bit much, Victor. That's
Yeah, more than Obama.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just like every Democratic president is the most divisive president in American history. This one says, as Biden left office with 57% public disapproval, the media and leaks from his own staff suddenly confirmed that they had suppressed honest discussion about the president's obvious and longstanding cognitive decline. Unlike Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, who left their 2 terms with public approval, Biden's 4 years are more unpopular and less successful than even those of a similar one-term Jimmy Carter presidency. So credit to Victor Davis Hanson for that, but he does talk about the woke agenda and hyperinflation, massive deficits. So yeah, that's pretty standard right-wing stuff. The next one is by Keisha N. Blaine, who is a Guggenheim Fellow and Carnegie Fellow at Brown University. Headline: Bringing Black Women into the Halls of Power. And then, like, where
And then
they
get kicked out again.
And then they get kicked out. They're out again. But it says President Joe Biden's term in office resulted in tangible gains for many Americans through his pro-labor policies and his investments in infrastructure and manufacturing, to name a few. One of his most significant accomplishments was advancing Black women's leadership opportunities. While Black women in the United States have a long and storied history of engaging in politics, even when they were barred from the vote, Biden's term represented a high point in bringing Black women into the halls of power. So it just goes on here about his appointments to the courts. 60% were people of color. Biden placed Black women in visible positions of power, including Karine Jean-Pierre as press secretary and Linda Thomas Greenfield as United States ambassador to the United Nations.
Having a Black woman give out those fake press releases.
I don't want to get too far out of my lane.
I don't know.
Here,
that was kind of throwing her under the bus. Really.
Yeah, this is really not the kind of.
And Kamala, like he kind of used them as a shield and just gave them the worst jobs.
He gave Kamala all the shit jobs, like going to the border during his honeymoon period, and like Linda Greenfield and Kelly Jean-Pierre, he just made them like the face of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
They just have to defend all that stuff. That's not really great. And also, Obama married a Black woman, so I think that might have been the high point.
Yeah, and didn't trot her out there to lie for him on a regular basis.
No.
I know. I mean, like I said, don't want to stray too far out of my lane here, but like if I was looking to tout the representation or prominence of Black women in American politics, I would not be using the Biden administration as an example. I mean, maybe the Supreme Ketanji Jackson Brown, that's a lifetime appointment, but the rest of these women, like I said, after they did their job covering up the Holocaust, are now out of power. Next up is from Kenneth W. Mack, who is the inaugural Lawrence D. Beale Professor of Law and Affiliate Professor of History at Harvard, touts Biden as the most successful one-term president in American history.
Okay.
Is this who he's talking about when he says Mac? When Biden says Mac? Because they must be friends.
He says here, I'm going to skip the first paragraph here. It says here, Biden pushed for the selection of unprecedented numbers of women and minorities for the federal bench and at high-level federal positions, including his vice president, Kamala Harris, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and also promoted policies to benefit the working class and economically disadvantaged, such as his administration's industrial policies and aggressive promotion of health insurance under Obamacare, both of which often disproportionately benefited economically marginal Republican-leaning areas. He broke decisively with the neoliberal policies that had dominated Democratic politics for a generation. He accepted the popularity of tariffs and national competition as the basis of an American relationship with China, while countering Russia's invasion of Ukraine and finally bringing home American forces from their failed mission in Afghanistan. In the end, Biden's popularity was undone by surging inflation and illegal border crossings, the fall of the Afghan government, which, I mean, he was just touting as one of his best achievements, and concerns about his age, blah, blah, blah. It goes on like that. But he says here, there is a case to be made for Biden as the most successful one-term president in American history. If he'd been a bit younger or perhaps a bit luckier, he might have had two. The next one is Noelle Rooks is a professor and department chair at Brown University. Headline here, in some ways, it was the best of times. I don't even need to read
10th grade
one.
essay.
Oh, my God.
Last one I'm going to read. Joe Biden's leadership was transformative. And this is by Judy Su-Chun Wu, who is the co-author of Fierce and Fearless, Patsy Takamoto Mink, first woman of color in Congress. She is a history professor of Asian American Studies and associate dean at the University of California, Irvine. Basically, Joe Biden's leadership was transformative. He pledged to appoint the most diverse cabinet with record numbers of women and people of color, and he followed through by appointing people like the Interior Secretary Deb Haaland, the first Native American woman appointed to the presidential cabinet. And then he says he also appointed acting labor secretary Julie Su, a Chinese American woman and long committed and widely recognized advocate for labor.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just stuff he did, I guess. Like he made investments in infrastructure. That's kind of a low bar. Like, yeah, you can name a few good things he did, but that doesn't, when you're talking about ranking a president, like you can find infrastructure bills that every president signed. Like if you go back to like Franklin Pierce or something, he probably signed something about the Erie Canal that created a lot of jobs. That doesn't mean he didn't suck though.
It just seems to me like in a lot of these, they list like his great achievements, like withdrawing from Afghanistan as also being his greatest undoing.
Something that was set up under Trump.
Yeah.
The timetable for that.
Just another bit of Irish tragedy for Joe Biden. But we honestly, we don't have him to kick around anymore. And honestly,
yeah,
I'm a
we
little sad
may
about
never
that.
see him again. He might be the opposite of Jimmy Carter, where we see him too much.
Yeah, you think Joe Biden's going to be building houses or helping people or even just
No.
making public statements? No, he's gone. Because Joe Biden despises this country. I mean, he always has, but if he didn't before, he definitely does now. Like, we let him down. We betrayed Joe.
Yeah, we're like Hunter.
Yeah.
I guess he still loves Hunter. He doesn't still love America.
Well, he's not going to
He would
pardon
never pardon
America.
us.
Yeah.
He should have pardoned everybody. He should have just pardoned the whole country. That is honestly what he should have done. He should have let every single criminal out that the federal government has.
Oh, yeah.
And just say, deal with it. I don't know. Fuck you. Like, I'm already getting ranked badly by historians. So how about I just let all these guys out and then I leave?
If he went out like Bane.
Yeah.
Just open all the prisons. It's your problem. You can get them all back. It's like 52 pickup.
It's like Con Air. He puts them all on one plane.
Yeah, we're going to put them on a plane for some reason.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing bad happens.
Well, there you go. No more Sleepy Joe, but we've got 4 years of Trump to look forward to. All right. Guess that does it for today's show. Do we have any announcements or plugs at the end of today's show?
Yes, I've been meaning to do this announcement for a while because people have been asking about it, but the Matt Christman's book, No Pasaran, it is finished manufacturing. It should be getting to our distributor perhaps even this week, and then it is off to your mailboxes. So hopefully, if you ordered the book back in October, it is produced and hopefully to you in a week or so, early February. So that is happening. It's coming soon.
Books, keep your powder dry, everybody.
God bless you. WFRM Talk Radio, Fortune Kit. Check it out.
That's right.